first I want to say a very big thank you to everybody who's been following my community posts and following my journey with my dog, whose health was failing. I thought maybe there was going to be a turnaround, but last week, unfortunately, her health took a very bad turn, and I had to put her down on Monday. So to those of you who gave me support and sent condolences and told me how beautiful she was, I thank you very, very much. And I thank everybody who's been patient. The last 10 days or so have been pretty trying, and I really wasn't able to focus on anything else. If you've ever been a caretaker for a spouse or a partner or a pet, you know that it's kind of a round-the-clock job, and at the end, it really had become, it was constant. And I wasn't really sleeping, and there was a lot of cleaning and diapers and walks, and it was a lot. And I'm starting to readjust to my life before this all happened. This has been going on for about 6 months. That said, Howard Bloom published a new installment of his Eyes of a Killer series. It's pretty. It doesn't really tell you much. It's a lot of sort of verbose prose, but I think the companion podcast that Airmail does, where they let him promote the episode, is a little bit more enticing and cuts to the chase a bit. I'm going to play something for you now, and then we're going to discuss it.
Defense begins by saying that they don't want all their discovery information to be revealed because it would, quote, endanger individuals. That means that what they know could put someone or someone's life in danger. This sounds like they're hiding a witness. And that suspicion is further reinforced when the prosecution speaks, and this is what they say on the record, that yes, the discovery information could endanger, quote, a confidential source. A confidential source. That means that if this trial ever takes place, both sides are saying that there is some individual or individuals who could turn this whole case inside out.
So the defense is saying that they don't want all of their discovery material revealed because they believe that there's something in there that could put somebody in danger. And the prosecution agrees and says, right, we don't want a lot of all of this discovery unsealed either. Now, does that mean that there is some confidential witness out there for the defense? Very possible. But also keep in mind that a lot of these things, it's very boilerplate language that it's always it's just a standard part of these documents. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there actually is someone out there, but there could be, and it makes sense that the prosecution agrees, because I do happen to believe that the prosecution has the confidential witness in the DoorDash driver. Now, do I think that this potential confidential witness could blow everything out of the water? No. I think, like I've said before, that it's all about narratives and putting a certain narrative out to the public, especially when they're trying to find an unbiased jury. So they're just trying to I think they're just trying to muddy the waters a bit to try and find a more objective jury. I don't necessarily think that the defense has a confidential witness, but I do think that the prosecution has one. Now I want to talk about something that I heard on a recent episode of Nika's Neuro Nuggets, and I'll link to the episode in the description. In the episode, Nika makes a passing reference to Dylan and says that Dylan knew something was wrong because she opened the door 3 times. Now, that's what I call head hopping, and that's when we presume to know the motivations or thoughts or opinions of somebody else without any confirmation. And a lot of times we're projecting, right? We're projecting, when someone speaks to us in a certain way, and there's a subtle change in their voice, we immediately assume, oh, they're mad at me. There's a lot to that. It's not as simple as, oh, I think that person's mad at me. There's a lot that informs a decision like that or an interpretation like that. So I don't think it's as simple as she knew something was wrong because she opened the door. I think what's safe to say is she was curious or concerned. And I can agree with concerned only because she maybe heard Xana crying, maybe she just heard noise and was like, what? And was opening the door, and for all we know was opening the door to tell people to shut up, right? We don't know. But we do know that the suspect left and she went back into her room and closed her door. Now here's what I think happened from that point on. I think she went back into her room, grabbed her phone, and sent messages to everybody because she wasn't sure who that person was who left. But because this was a house where people were in and out, it's 4 a.m., there's women in the house, hey, maybe Kaylee was hooking up, whatever. So I think she sent texts to everybody, and the only person who answered was Bethany. I also think it's very possible, if not likely, that she went to Xana's room and didn't hear anything, so she didn't knock because the door was closed, and so she assumed that they were asleep. And then, because of all the noise, maybe sent a text to Bethany and was like, it's just noisy up here, can I come down there? Or maybe she was a little bit spooked by this person leaving at 4 o'clock, like, oh, there's guys in this house and that creeps me out. And again, let's say it did creep her out. We don't know why it creeped her out. That's something that is informed by our experiences. Now, I'm a victim of SA, I'll call it. Abuse, S-abuse. And I might panic or get uncomfortable because a guy looks at me a certain way or touches me in a certain way. That doesn't necessarily mean there's anything going wrong, right? That's my stuff. That's my stuff coming up, and I'm projecting that onto whoever the person is. Do I think Dylan could have been creeped out after seeing somebody leave at almost 4:30 in the morning? Yeah, I do. I think it's very possible. And I think she texted everybody. Bethany answered, and she said, can I come downstairs? I think she could have been creeped out. I think she probably was creeped out. But not creeped out because a man left the house and she worried that he was potentially a murderer or even a thief. But just because he was a guy in all black wearing a mask. You have to understand. So let's say she sees this person leave and she's like, who's that? What is she going to do? Is she going to call the police and say, hi, like I have somebody who was in my house and he was wearing all black and had a mask on? Well, it's Idaho in November. It was like 25 degrees out. Police are going to be like, yeah, a lot of people, what are you talking about? A lot of people wear masks. Like that's not, what are you talking about? It's not as simple as, oh, the police are going to run right over, especially when a woman calls. We don't tend to care too much when we're afraid. So it's not like police were going to run right over because she saw a man in her house and she didn't know who he was. For her to have called the police, there had to have been something substantial for her to, that she could see, that she could touch, that she could, something. So what was it? That's what I want to hear from you. What do you think she saw when she came out of that room? Let's say she did go to Xana's room. What do you think she saw? What do you think, what could she have said to police? Because if she didn't see anything and the person was gone and the house didn't look ransacked, what is she supposed to say? You tell me. Leave it in the comments.